absolutely enormous. It's beautiful. Much bigger than anything we see in Rhode Island, so we appreciate the time. And how's everything going?
Great, yeah. In Ohio, bigger state, so
Yeah.
everything has to be slightly larger. No, we're excited. Glad to have y'all join us.
Yeah, we're pretty pumped, to be here. Let's talk Rhinegeist. This is, a large venue as we talked about, but take us through the story of how Rhinegeist got founded, some of the things that you guys are focused on as an entity, and, at a high level, what is Rhinegeist? And there's silence.
I think I'll let you take it from the beginning, Chris. I think you've been here a little bit longer than I have.
It's true, a few months. Rhinegeist was founded by two guys, Bob Bonder and Ryan Golden, opened in end of June 2013. So coming up on our 9th anniversary, and we've always been in this space. We are using more of this space than we were at the beginning, that's for sure. And over the last almost 9 years, we've grown a lot, added a bunch of people to the team. We're now we've started an employee stock ownership program, so on our way to being employee owned, and that's sort of like the very nuts and bolts of our founding. We're in downtown Cincinnati. The neighborhood's called OTR, or Over-The-Rhine. It's an old German neighborhood. Definitely a lot of ties to like with Bockfest and that German heritage aspect. We've been making Truth our flagship, which is an American IPA, since day one. I don't know. What do you want to know?
That was good.
We'll share some stats. I mean, we read that you are the 28th largest craft brewery in all of the United States, so pretty cool. And over 100,000 barrels of beer per year. So those are two things that, again, from our small state coming to here, it's like, not bad, not too shabby. But we'll go into both of your backgrounds. So tell us how you ended up at Rhinegeist, and what are your day-to-day activities and what are your roles within the brand?
Sure, yeah. I actually came here from another local craft brewery called 50 West. That's out actually on the east side of town, funny enough. And I was there for about 3 years, kind of helped them get off the ground. I was one of their kind of first employees when they opened, and I just kind of fell in love with the industry. I had been in food and bev before, but there's just something about craft beer that really resonated with me that I thought was really fun, especially here in Cincinnati. The craft beer community is extremely tight-knit. There's obviously a lot of competition, but there's also a lot of camaraderie and a lot of fun. So I knew that it was something that I wanted to stay in, and when it was time for me to make a transition, I went with the big dog. Rhinegeist is definitely a big fish in Cincinnati, and it was a goal of mine to find my niche here, and I've been fortunate enough to do that. I've been here for about 6 years. I started as a bartender in the tap room and moved up through management, and now my primary focus is planning our events and activations. So everything that kind of makes the taproom experience what it is. We pride ourselves on what we call surprise and delight, which is just kind of this sense of novelty, this sense of wonder, this sense of how did they do that? So it's kind of my job to bring that sense of novelty to the table. So all of our large-scale events, our tour program, things of that nature kind of fall under me.
Nice. And Chris, as a director of education now too, as we transition to you, what does that mean at a brewery?
What does that
right?
mean? Yeah.
In general too, but
I'll work my way there. I think makes the most sense. I joined a few months before Iceland, as I said. I just this week actually celebrated my 7th anniversary.
Congratulations.
Thank
good
you.
work.
Thank you. It's my longest tenure of any job. And actually joined Rhinegeist as a production brewer. So 2015, came in the building, was brewing beer, helped launch our cider program. We got some good cider. And as we continue to grow and hire more folks and do more things out in the community, in the tap room, and just around the city at that time, we identified that we wanted to have everybody that worked at Rhinegeist as a start, kind of have at least a basic understanding of beer and how it's made and what we do as a brewery. So I sort of fell into doing that. I would say that I was one of the few brewers that we had at the time that was willing to do things like one of the first events I ever did was being on a brewers panel at Bockfest in probably 2015. And when brewers, these are generally people who have self-selected to spend their time alone in a warehouse. They're not always the most eager to talk about what they do in a public way. I enjoy it. I think it's fun. I love sharing that aspect of what brewers do and what we as a brewery do. I think we bring a lot of excitement to the community between not just the beer, but the events, the tap room, and everything that we do. And over time, I sort of transitioned from doing a little bit of that and mostly brewing to I basically don't ever brew anymore and do everything from internal staff training, working with our wholesaler partners, retail accounts, being active within the industry as far as like conferences and state and national organizations. And I get to do, fun stuff like this and just like talk to people about beer and the cool stuff that we do.
I mean, that's why we're doing this podcast. We love everyone loves beer, for the most part, but we love to hear, the people behind all of that beer, the behind the brewer scenes and, heading into the history of Cincinnati and why we're here in Bockfest. I mean, this building in particular, runs back to the Prohibition days, but from your perspective and from your knowledge, what does the craft beer community look like in Cincinnati and how far does that history run?
I think I'll take it as if we call it local beer drinker history. I think that line runs really, really deep. Before Prohibition, Cincinnati had like 35 breweries, and I think there were like over 15 just in OTR in our small little neighborhood. And sure, they were making beer for the region. This was the West back then, pretty much. But a lot of that beer was also getting consumed in Cincinnati. And Cincinnati has a long history of drinking a lot of beer and being, passionate about that beer and supporting the beer from here. That's certainly been the case with Rhinegeist, but, really drawing that line all the way back to pre-prohibition. The unfortunate thing was, whereas some of the big major brewing players that have been around since before Prohibition, they managed to survive. And none of the breweries in Cincinnati really did. Not in any meaningful way for very long after Prohibition. So, we look at it as an opportunity to connect to some of that history and revive some of that mentality of drinking in your community and supporting your local beer. Eisen talked about 50 West. They're another brewery that they have a very different atmosphere and vibe from what we do, but they make great beer and they're good folks, and we all kind of get together. And I mean, it's not unique to Cincinnati, but it is a little bit unique to craft beer, I think. And that through line of just connecting with the community and being a place to relax, a place to let your hair down and just enjoy the end of a day, I think is something that's been going on in Cincinnati for many decades.
So specific, go ahead.
Yeah.
Anything to add?
I think that we have a lot of pride in our role, particularly in the OTR neighborhood. We kind of came in and bought this building during a time where there wasn't a lot else in the neighborhood. It definitely was in need of some revitalization, and we definitely kind of got in on the ground level of that initiative and kind of revitalizing the neighborhood, bringing the energy, bringing people back in. And this building actually originally was part of the bottling facility for Christian Moerlein, which is one of Cincinnati's historic breweries. It's one of our longest standing breweries. So we're really proud that we were able to come into this space and kind of make it our own. Over the course of many years of renovations, we've actually found remnants of the Christian Moorline, like bottles, things of that nature. I have got some that I can show you.
That's pretty cool, yeah.
So those are really cool, and just occupying the space that has those type of artifacts to offer us and this type of history has been really meaningful. And I think that part of what I enjoy about my job is that over the years we really have become kind of a community hub. We are a little bit of a hive where people can kind of meet and gather, even if it has nothing to do with Rhinegeist. We host a lot of groups with other interests who are just looking for a space to gather, and we're really, really happy that we can offer that.
Yeah, so let's talk about the product now, right? The stuff everybody comes here for. We'll tell you what we're drinking. We'd appreciate if you guys give us kind of some sort of background. I know, Iceland, you recommended the Bockfest special, basically.
Yeah,
so walk us through that. Yes, walk us through what's on the table right now.
I love our Bock beer. This is actually called Bock Goat, which
Bock
I love.
Goat,
I love
yes.
a clever name.
Very good.
The craft beer industry loves a pun. We are no exception.
Absolutely.
And I think that our version of it is really solid. I think it's full flavored without being too intense. For me personally, it kind of reminds me of a Honey Nut Cheerio, which is very nostalgic.
I do taste it.
Yeah. I love that little hint of breadiness, that little hint of sweetness. This is one of my favorite seasonal releases. It's definitely a limited run each year, so I like to get my fill of it while it's here. Chris can probably speak a little bit more to the ingredients and kind of how we make it.
So, Bock is, I think most people think Doppelbock. You think the classic big bruiser, rich, sweet beers. But I always like to think of Bock as more of a category than an individual style. It's really a group of styles. Some of the history there, and I'm certainly not a Bock history expert, but and there are some in Cincinnati for sure. But one of the things, Bock was really initially just described a beer of a certain strength. So you had a lot of variation of types of beer. So Bock Goat is, it's a Maibock or a Hellesbock, so it's a little bit lighter in color, a little bit more bitterness than like a Dunkelsbock, a Darkbock, or what you normally see as a Doppelbock, being a double Bock. You can have sort of double Hellesbock, but it's pretty rare. This is, clocked in at 6.4%, so sessionable for a Bock for sure. I struggle to call anything over 5% sessionable. When you're talking about Bocks, you're talking about big beers. They're just big beers inherently, big lagers. So ours it's pretty traditional malt bill, just Pilsner, Munich, and Vienna. Probably in the reverse order of that. And then we use Cascade hops for bittering, which is a little non-traditional. It provides just a subtle hint of like a little bit of a citrus fruity note. You don't get much flavor and aroma from a bittering addition, but we really like in beers like this to bitter with something like Cascade because it gives it just that touch of citrus. We do the same thing in our American lager, which is called Cheetah. And then also just Glacier, which is just a nice sort of like very continental style, floral, kind of earthy hop. But yeah, I think Hellesbock's kind of my favorite of the category because I love bitter, and certainly this is malt balanced, but having a little bit more bitterness, I think, for me really brings it together.
Solid. And then I had the Resurgence.
It was a cherry sour.
You recommended it. It was
one of the last ones on the list.
Infrared Eclipse. Resurgence,
Infrared Eclipse.
So tell us about this one.
The Infrared Eclipse is part of our Outer Reaches line, which is kind of how we identify our sours. We have an amazing sour program, and they do all kind of have that spacey theme. So we've got, Infrared Eclipse, string theory, science fiction, stuff like that that's really exciting. We're actually hosting an event this coming week in collaboration with the Cincinnati Observatory, where they're actually going to be bringing telescopes to our rooftop.
That's cool.
So exactly,
That's
yeah,
awesome.
I think that's so fun and such a novel way to kind of cross-promote each other and do something with another Cincinnati institution that we have a lot of respect for. So they're going to have astrologers on hand They're astronomers.
Astronomers.
I'm sorry. Astrologers are.
You never know. I suppose the two aren't mutually exclusive
Hey,
necessarily.
everybody's got a star sign, right?
Exactly.
So their astronomers, will be on hand to kind of guide people through some telescope viewing, which I think is really exciting. And then we'll have 12 of our Outer Reaches selections on tap. So it's just a night of celebration of sours and kind of delving into that program and what that means.
So
are you enjoying the information?
I like it a lot. Yeah, definitely want to.
look like you're
I mean,
enjoying it.
Yeah.
we're gonna have box all weekend, so it's like gotta try a little bit of
absolutely.
everything.
It's a very palatable tartness. That's one of my favorites right now.
Yeah, and then going back on that though, it's like you have a ton of events going on in the next couple weeks. I mean, next couple days rather.
We
It's
do.
like,
Yeah,
it's not even weeks at this point.
So what's going on with Rhinegeist in the coming days, weeks, and months?
This weekend is actually our local soccer team, FC Cincinnati. It's their home opener. We have a very close partnership with them and with the stadium, so we're having a watch party here. So we'll have a street team in from...
On top of Bockfest.
Yes, on top of Bockfest.
It's gonna get rowdy in here.
It's gonna be so much fun. So we'll have a street team in from Cincinnati, FC Cincinnati, who will have their mascot taking photos with people, kind of passing out some swag and, creating hype for the game. We've definitely become a pregame destination. So yeah, it's going to be a busy afternoon for us. We're definitely looking forward to that, looking forward to our collaboration with the Cincinnati Observatory. And then fingers crossed we'll have a baseball opening day sometime soon, but that's going to be for now.
Yeah,
Let's hope.
it doesn't look hopeful, but we're rooting for it for sure. But,
Absolutely.
But off that too, the Rare Beer Fest is something you guys have done traditionally as well. Breweries bring the rarest products in. What are some of the stories behind that? Is there something that sticks out that you're like, wow, what the hell did that brewery or person bring in to Rhinegeist?
Only in the best way.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny because we really don't curate that beer list very much. We just kind of reach out and we say like, hey, it's called Rare Beer Fest.
Take the hint, basically, yeah.
We always encourage breweries to and we say bring because we really try to encourage the brewers or somebody from the brewery to come out and participate in the fest. We try to facilitate that by, we buy all the beer. We grab hotel rooms for anybody that's going to come. We try to make it as easy and affordable as possible. As a brewery, we understand everything that goes into a beer festival, and so we do our best to alleviate as much of that as possible. But yeah, we really just say bring something that you're excited about. Bring something that you want to share with, the beer drinkers of Cincinnati, and people don't disappoint. I mean, not to say that we get a lot of really great sours, we get a lot of really great big barrel-aged beers, but we also get some really beautiful, unique lagers or cool IPAs or experimental things that don't really fit anywhere, and those are fun because those breweries are excited about those things, right? And they're excited to come and share that with all the people that are at the fest.
I feel like to a degree there's a level of uniqueness to it, right? As there is in really any craft beer that anybody creates, but in the sense that this is mine, right? This is it, maybe it sucks too, but it's mine, right? And it's I came up with the recipe, I brewed it, something like that, right? So I feel like that goes a long way. But Rare Beer Fest, when typically is Rare Beer Fest?
It falls in the fall.
Yeah, it's typically kind of like October-ish. It hasn't happened in the most recent history.
Right.
But it's definitely something that we'd like to bring back. But again, I mean, it's a lot of work goes into that, a lot of coordination. We're bringing in breweries that aren't normally in the state.
Right.
So we also try to do that by the book, and so it's a lot of paperwork and a lot of phone calls to the state alcohol office and with wholesalers and with those breweries, trying to make it. We try to facilitate, as I said, as much as we can, but we want to make it smooth and easy experience for everyone, including our state regulators, and make sure that they're not getting a phone call in the middle of the Saturday afternoon and be like, what the heck is this thing going on in Cincinnati? Try to do it above board, and it takes a while and it takes a lot of coordination, but hopeful that you'll see something in the near future about that festival coming back.
Oh, we're excited. And talking about Rhinegeist again in terms of like its size, not only physically but impression-wise too. I mean, you have a couple 100,000 followers on social media. Over 1 million people have untapped you on, obviously Untapped, but there are different beers every single year. What are your two favorites, and what is Rhinegeist known for? If there was like, if someone was coming in for 5 minutes and they can only grab one beer, they're grabbing
Truth, right? It's got to be the truth.
Yeah.
It's got to be true.
One of the 100 best beers in the world in 2014. That's
Look at that.
the notes we dug up.
Yeah.
Good work.
You know, Truth. I think Truth is special. It's truly the beer that built Rhinegeist. Our founding head brewer, who's now our chief science officer, it's based off one of his homebrew recipes, and it's just I always say it's a West Coast style American IPA, but it's not just bitter. There's a little bit of Cara Red, a little bit of rye in there, a little touch of Vienna. Gives it just enough malt kind of character to balance it out. It's like almost orange. It's not the super pale, like straw colored. Don't get me wrong, I love those beers. As I said, I love bitter, but Truth is both big and bold, but also super approachable, and I think that's a big part of its success and transitively our success. Truth is still over 40% of our production volume, and we're making 150 beers a year or something like that. Obviously not all of them at that scale, but we're making a ton of beer, and Truth kind of continues to shine as a rock star. We all love it, but if people stopped buying it, we'd have to stop making as much of it, and so far, that hasn't happened.
I'll knock on wood with you.
Yeah. I think about that. Like, it's pretty amazing that that's been our number one selling flagship beer since we opened. I mean, it was on the day we opened, and it's on today. But if you want to dig into some of my favorites, I have a really soft spot for some of our kind of more classic style stuff. We make an English mild, dark mild, called Uncle. It's a huge favorite in this building. It doesn't get a lot of traction at bars and restaurants and other places, but it's a 4% brown, basically baby brown ale that it's one of the beers that I first fell in love with when I came here. It's another one that we have had on since we opened.
Yeah.
Even as a non-IPA drinker, I can attest to the power of Truth. It really is. It's so well balanced. It's my go-to IPA. I think my all-time favorite Rhinegeist beer is a barrel-aged dark blend called Mashushu. It's big and it's bold and it's a lot, and I just love it. I look forward to it every year. Every variation that we've made differs slightly because it is a blend of some other beers that's then barrel-aged. So it's just extremely complex. I also love that we have a naming convention within Rhinegeist that kind of harkens to some mythical creatures, and Mashushu. It's just fun to say. It's fun to spell.
Mashushu.
I
like
exactly.
That.
I love watching people walk up to the bar and their eyes get big when they
M1,
they don't know exactly what to ask for. So I definitely always look forward to that. And then I think my other kind of go-to favorite is our Grisette table beer. It's a super traditional style. It's one that doesn't get a lot of airtime the way some of our IPAs and our sours do. But it's just excellent. It's nice and full flavored. It's got a slight tartness. It's a super low ABV. And we sell it in a very affordable bomber. And the idea is kind of similar to when you go to an Italian restaurant and there's just a table red and a table white. It's your table beer. It's versatile. It pairs beautifully with food of all kinds. And it's just a great easy go-to. It's an easy grab. And that's definitely been a mainstay for me.
So
and only available here.
In the tap room.
Building.
Yes,
that
in the
is
building.
tap room
You can buy it to
exclusive.
go. But
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. In cans, I take it, right?
It is bottled.
Oh, in bottles. Cool.
Yep.
Very awesome. So let's get real. Bockfest this weekend, right?
Yes.
What does that mean for you guys? What does that mean for the city of Cincinnati, the beer community here? Take us through just what this weekend means to you guys in the community.
With German heritage in Cincinnati, obviously Bockfest is something that gets a lot of attention, a lot of focus, and there are some kind of long-held traditions that surround that. As a new newcomer to the, fairly newcomer to the craft beer scene in Cincinnati. We've actually kind of always taken a bit of a backseat to the primary Bockfest celebrations. They're just so institutionalized that we want to do something that just kind of complements and dovetails. That being said, in the last couple of years, in a post-COVID world, I think there's a little bit of a restructuring of those celebrations, and we hope to get a little bit more involved in the future. So for this year, we're just really excited to see it come back.
Yeah.
We're excited to see the crowds come through to try our Bock this weekend, and just kind of go from there with it.
And Chris, your perspective, I mean, it's from the educational view, it's like, you have a real opportunity to not only teach the Cincinnati community about what Bock means and what traditional German beer means, but for those like us that are from Rhode Island that came out here, right? So what does that mean from your perspective?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there is going to be more Bock beer consumed in Cincinnati this weekend than probably anywhere outside of Germany for the rest of the year. I mean, it is amazing. I mean, there are bars that have 15 taps of nothing but Bock on this weekend. Like, you don't normally see that, right? And as Aslan said, it goes back to that German heritage and tradition. And like, I think of it as like when I moved here, I'm about 0.0% German, but I own Lederhosen because I moved to Cincinnati, and I was like, this is part of our city. Like, it's the heritage of our city, and it's just fun. We have a huge Oktoberfest, we do Bockfest, we do, there's all these German societies that do festivals all year, and it's definitely something that's been lacking with COVID and all the restrictions that surround that, and I'm excited to get back to that, and I know the city's excited to get back to that.
Well, we're excited too, and we appreciate the time thus far. We cannot wait to see you tomorrow. Before we close out, where can our listeners follow you guys on Instagram and social media, and how can they find your beer, not only in the Cincinnati area, but if they wanted to stop by as well?
Yeah, absolutely. We are on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter at Rhinegeist.
TikTok now?
Oh, TikTok!
We got a TikTok now.
Nice. That's dangerous.
Our much younger counterparts in marketing have us on TikTok now, and that's been really fun to engage with. I love seeing the content that they create. It's always something fun and interesting. And so yeah, we're across platforms now. We also have a newsletter that anyone can sign up for via our website that has a little bit more in-depth information on the events, the activations, the beers that we're putting out. Our beer is available pretty widely, citywide. We're also in a lot of outside markets, ranging as far as Nashville, Chicago, and beyond. So it's definitely it's getting easier and easier to find us. We hope to be even more easier on that in the future. Chris, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I was just gonna say I wanted to make sure I got in a plug for we're talking Bockfest, and I assume that this will be airing sometime after tomorrow.
Yes.
However, one of our brewers, Megan, she's a finalist in the Sausage Queen competition. So
exciting.
If anyone listens to this and has access to a time machine, go back and vote for Megan. She's repping Rhinegeist at the Sausage Queen competition.
A hot dog on roller skates. It's brilliant.
Oh wow, we'll be making an appearance at Sausage
We'll
Queen.
be there. We'll be there.
We'll cast a vote if we can. Can we cast votes
I
like
don't
in
see
person
why not.
or?
It's in person. It's like I think
Yeah.
it's like applause-based.
Oh, all right. Well,
You got our
get
vote.
rowdy.
You got our
Megan,
vote.
Megan, her name is.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, that's say less. We got you
She
guys.
literally will be a hot dog on roller skates.
Oh man,
Can't wait for the video on that.
Yeah, if people want to visit you guys in Cincinnati, give a general. Is it Elm that you guys are on technically?
Yes,
Or
we are
yes.
1910 Elm Street.
1910 Elm Street.
Over-The-Rhine. Perfect.
Take the streetcar to the Brewery District stop, get out, and walk up steps.
Yeah, it was. I will say the steps may be daunting after a few Bocks, but so you got to come here and drink the box and then go down the steps. I think that's easiest, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, I can't wait to see this place tomorrow.
Yeah.
We're gonna air this obviously after Bockfest, but Saturday, just looking at how much space you guys have, I mean, it's gonna be an electric crowd.
Yeah.
So, no, but thank you again for your time. We appreciate it. Good luck this weekend. Enjoy and
Go Rhinegeist.
Yeah, go Rhinegeist.